everybody, it's Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company, and I am here today with Darlene Zimmerman. Hi, Darlene. Welcome.
Thanks. It's nice to be here.
Oh, it's just wonderful to have her. So right at this very moment, I'm going to talk a little bit about this quilt behind us because this is so darling. This is made with Darlene's fabric line,
The ABC.
the ABC book. And this is the panel that it takes to make that. And this is a darling panel, makes a really cute children's quilt. She used one of these roll-ups here, 2.5-inch strips, and this is a free pattern from Robert Kaufman. And so you can get that in the description box below, but that is a really cool quilt. But Darlene, you're a superstar in finishes.
That's my favorite thing.
Yes, she's so good at borders, bindings, all that kind of stuff. And so we wanted her to come and talk to us.
So I have an easy way of doing borders that doesn't require any math or measuring.
Oh, good. I can't wait for this. This is going to help all of us.
Okay, so I've pieced the border here, and you can see we've got a straight seam. I prefer a straight seam to a diagonal.
Well, I guess you can't see it much better there either.
Because it really doesn't show that
Now,
much.
do you always straight seam? Do you ever diagonal?
Rarely diagonal.
I'm the same. I rarely diagonal.
Because if you diagonal, you know, where you sew it on a 45-degree, then your seam is so much longer, and I think it disturbs the design and the pattern so much more.
Well,
and it takes a lot more fabric.
It takes more fabric, and this is just faster. And honestly, do you match yours up?
You can, depending on your fabric.
I don't usually because I don't think anybody notices.
Once it's quilted, that disappears.
Well, and again, I'm not making fancy quilts. You know, I'm making quilts to be used and loved. So
let's do a straight seam and not waste a lot of fabric.
Okay.
Then I will take 2 border lengths, in this case.
So you cut the size you want first.
Well, and you might need to piece it.
Well, no, what I mean is the width you want.
Yes, the width
so
you
decide,
want.
if you decide you want a 6-inch border on here, then we're going to cut that, you cut that fabric. Now this one is short enough, we can get that out of one length with no seam.
Right. So here I have 2 lengths.
Okay.
And it's best not to measure it with the edge of your quilt because with handling, the edge of your quilt may have stretched.
That can get distorted.
So measure in a little closer. And I'm going to show this side because it does not have the selvage on. And I line it up here, keep it straight as we go across the quilt. And I have 2 borders together, so this is going to be my top and bottom border. And I just smooth them together, and then when I get to this edge, I crease it. So you can see the you can see the line, and then I cut it like 1 inch longer, just for insurance.
Okay.
Then I will pin this.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and cut this.
Okay.
Let's cut this right here. So about you don't measure it. You just give it a little.
I just want a little bit extra because when I have the borders sewn on, then I want to straighten it. I don't want the border pulling in or pulling to one side.
So then we're going to have this piece right here, and we'll put this. Okay, so now tell me. Yeah, I'm kind of taking over, and I just don't want to.
Because we've smoothed the fabrics together, we're going to keep them together nicely. We'll just put in some pins so as we're sewing it.
Do you worry about centering it, or do you just kind of lay it over and pin it on?
Just lay it over and pin it on.
Perfect.
But I do pin it because the sewing machine tends to push your fabric, and it may stretch or pull one fabric more than the other. And then when you get towards the end, you want to just make sure that you've come to that crease and have a little bit extra hanging over. So this way you know that your top and bottom borders are going to be the exact same size.
Okay.
Even if you have to fudge it a little bit, if your quilt has stretched a little bit, you keep the bigger part on the bottom, and the feed dogs will automatically ease it in.
I always say that. Baggy bottoms to the bottom.
Baggy bottoms. So that's how you put on a border.
Now, because we're so magic here, we have this quilt over here. This one's a little bigger, kind of grew in the quilting. But we have this quilt over here, and it's got nice borders cut on it. And one of the things she has that I'm really excited to show you is she has this awesome scalloping tool. And she's going to show us how to use this so that we can make a scalloped or a wavy edge. Now, on this quilt back here, you can see how this waves like this? And I mean, it's just so cute. She's left her corner square up here, but the rest of it is wavy. But also, when you make a simple quilt like this, a scalloped edge will make it ooh-ah really fast.
Exactly. So if your quilt is less than wonderful, but you want to impress your your quilting friends and your
a
neighbors.
scalloped edge on that.
Exactly. Now, a scalloped edge can look feminine,
Yeah.
but a wavy edge can look masculine.
Oh,
Or
yes,
it doesn't
absolutely.
matter.
Absolutely.
So, because I don't know whether this baby is going to be a boy or girl, I did a wavy edge.
Okay.
So I've got all the
Perfect.
bases covered. Okay.
Perfect.
So I have the scallop tool, which allows you to do scallops from 4 inches with the small one, and they do come together in a package, or 12 inches with the big one, and everything in between, because we need these to be flexible, that we can fudge a little bit.
Yeah.
We need to do that.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to show you how to mark the edge on this quilt. And first of all, you need to, and you could do this to a quilt top. You could mark your scallop in case you wanted the quilter to fit a design into each of the scallops. But
So you would never cut it
I would never cut that shape because your long
before
arm,
it goes to the quilter.
they would hate you
Yes,
for it.
they would hate you. So if you want, like if you want certain quilting in your scallop, then you would go ahead and draw it on there first. That makes really
Exactly.
good sense. That's a really good
Yes,
tip.
because they like that. They like that shape.
That parameter, yeah.
So they know where to fit the quilting design.
I just do edge to edge, so I'm all over the top.
So then it
and,
doesn't matter
It doesn't
at all.
matter. All right.
Okay.
So now, how do we figure this out?
Okay,
I saw
first
you
of
started
all,
to
we need to
fold.
measure it.
Okay.
And don't worry, I'm not going to make you do that much math.
Not that much math. Thank heaven.
Okay,
My
it's
reputation precedes me.
29 inches, so that would be 58, correct?
Okay. Yep.
58 inches.
That was good. That
So,
was good math for the morning.
yeah. Now, the next part is very technical. We're going to just take our finger and do this. Because you might want little scallops, you might want giant scallops, or something in between. Usually you have in your head an idea of whether you want little ones, big ones, whatever. So I'm just going to casually count them out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so we had
58.
58 divided by 9. Let me see.
Let's see, 9 times
I think
6
that's
is,
6.
no, 9 times 5 is
45. 9
45.
times 6 is 54.
54.
So it would come out to 6
9 times 6. 9 times 6 is what? 54. 9 times 7 is 63. So we're right in the middle of that.
Yeah, so approximately 6.5 because
Okay.
it never comes out evenly.
No, not exactly.
And it doesn't
She's so
need
easy.
to.
I love that.
And these tools are very flexible. You can say, well, it's close to 6.5. It's marked in 1/4 inch intervals, but you can round it up to the nearest half or 1/4 inch.
I'm trying to get this flat so you guys can see this. There we go.
So here I am. I have it set
Now,
at-
I love this. Let's take a look at this because this has like little slits
and it locks in place.
and it locks in place so that, so that's really helpful. That's fun. I didn't see that when you first had it out, so it was like a little squirrel caught my attention, you know.
So now we start marking right at the corner, and we want to start right at this edge. We can mark.
Now, do you put this on over here, or do you start it? I mean,
we want to start it like this,
okay.
and we want this right to the edge. This goes right to the side edge, and this amount should be about the same. You can
All right,
measure
let's
it.
move this up here so we can make sure that everybody can see this.
We could measure this amount, or we could just eyeball it.
Okay.
I prefer to eyeball it.
All right, so then we're drawing those on.
Yes, and you want to use like a washable or iron out marker. This is the FriXion Pen. Oops.
And again, you're gonna, so you make sure that your little edges stay about the same, and this
Yep.
stays, this top of the scallop
Yep.
stays right at the edge of the quilt.
So now I just start and mark the next one, and so on.
And
But
you're
I
gonna-
don't mark all the way across because I might have to fudge a little bit in the middle because our division problem, the one simple division problem, did not come out
My simple division.
perfectly.
No brain.
It did not.
I really can multiply and divide, just so you know.
But we want to be able to fudge this in the middle. Okay, now I would start from the other end and work towards the middle, and then 1 or 2 scallops in the middle could be
Just a tiny bit.
A little bit smaller.
Oh, okay.
Or a little bit bigger. Whatever it takes to even them out. And no one will ever know.
Right.
As long as you keep it similar. Now we've marked one edge, but usually quilts are rectangular. So our other edge is going to measure a different size.
Different measurement, okay.
So it makes...
Okay, so when you go on this edge now, do you do the same thing? Do you start with this?
Well, first we have to do the measurement again.
Oh, okay.
And do the dividing. But it makes sense if we had, I forgot how many scallops we had, but we may need to add or subtract a few scallops.
Oh, okay. Now, tell me, do you have any tricks to doing the binding?
Well, number one, it has to be bias.
Okay. Yes.
Because
anytime you go around a curve, it's got to be on the bias.
It's got to be bias.
Now, bias just means that it's on the 45-degree angle of the fabric.
Exactly.
So it's not terribly hard. But show us, what do you usually do? How do you do your bias?
Well, you start with whatever size piece of fabric, and you have to have it opened up. Okay?
All right. Now, I usually start with a half a yard. Do you, or does it matter?
Half a yard will give you quite a bit of binding.
Yeah, half a yard gives you 280 inches of bias binding.
Yes. So half yard is plenty. We have more than that here, but it doesn't matter. And what you need to do is cut a 45-degree angle off. And you have a ruler here.
I do.
It doesn't have to be a huge one, but it does need to have 45-degree markings.
Okay.
And no matter what brand of ruler you use, you will have a 45. So I would line that up on the cut edge here, or else here, it doesn't matter. That's going to give you your 45, and then I will cut the corner off. Put this aside for scraps. So then it's going to look like this. And then you can continue cutting your binding.
Just cut your strips.
Just cut, and sew them together.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yes.
Now, if you're left-handed, you're going to start from the other side.
Exactly.
All right.
Yes.
So that's for those like me, that because I'm like, wait, I'm not sure this is going to.
Right.
You
So
know.
you would just start at the opposite corner and work this way.
All righty. Now, when you go to sew on your binding.
And
you
by
know-
the way, I cut a single binding for this. Because
That's right. You told me that.
single binding is going to work much better. As you go around those curves, it's the double binding tends to twist and pull and stitch differently, but a single binding will just lay down nicely. And in the V, where the fabrics come together, you don't want too much fabric in there, and that's where the single binding comes in handy. And people say to me, but it's going to wear out. Oh no. And I say, well, don't you give your quilts away?
It's going to wear out for someone else.
It's not your problem.
Oh, that's terrible.
It's not your problem.
That's terrible. I still do a double binding because mine are just washed and washed and washed and washed. But and when I get to this middle part, do you have a special way of doing that?
Yes, I pivot there.
Oh, okay.
But now you would do something different.
I do something different. So when I get to this middle part right here, so I'm just going to cut this, even though I haven't basted it, because I am going to put a scallop on here, like this. And so this is how your scallop's going to look, that little pivot in there. And I will sew my binding on here, and when I get to this part, I just pull it as straight as I can get it and sew it straight across. And then when you let that go, it makes its own pleat.
Right.
And so for me, that works really easily. But you know, a lot of people worry about that, you know, that little flap, and you do. She just does like a little layover fold there, and because
Right.
it's single fold, it lays down really nice.
It folds really nicely and looks nice front and back. Yeah.
So basically what we're trying to tell you is there's more than one way to do this. You know, there's lots of ways to do borders and bindings and things like that. This is just another way, another help for you, if you
Right.
will,
You
so
could
that you
try
can
either
finish your
method.
projects. Absolutely.
But it is key to have a bias binding. A straight binding will not
It will not work on a curve.
It
No.
just will not.
If you have straight edges, you do straight binding. If you have curved edges, you have to have binding that curves. So that is key.
Now, one more trick I'd like to share is how to do the wavy edge.
Oh, okay. Let's show that. Great idea.
Okay, so we've
So
got
here's
a
our
fresh
other
edge,
side.
and I'm just going to pretend that I've done the measurement and I'm at 7.5. Doesn't matter what size you have. And I would start marking the exact same way. Right to the edge.
All right. Let's come over here to the middle again.
Okay.
Make sure we can see that.
So you've marked one. Now the second one would normally go like this. But
For a scallop.
Yes, but we're going to just flip it upside
So you just flip it
down.
over and it makes
Oh
this.
gosh, that's so hard.
No, that was really cool.
But we
I'm
want
like, how's she going to do this?
but we want that measurement to stay the same there. So
Right.
we mark our inner curve, and then we go back to this and mark the outer
that is really
curve.
cool. That is really
Oh,
cool.
this is so hard. And people really like binding this edge because they don't have that
There's no
V.
point.
Yes.
And I love to use this for a boy's quilt. It makes a boy's quilt, you know, it
Yes.
ooh-ahs it up as well. Yeah. That is awesome.
And it just gives your quilt that extra wow factor.
It does.
And you think, oh, that's so hard, but it really isn't. Literally takes you 5 or 10 minutes to mark the quilt for a scallop or a wavy edge, and it's no sweat.
That actually makes it a lot easier. And these kind of quilts, these block quilts, people love these. I think people overlook these, but they love them because they're not afraid to use them. It represents
Right.
comfort to them. They can throw it in the car. They can wrap up in it and watch television. You know, I mean, this makes it just makes a nice quilt, and then this added makes
Adds
it.
so much.
so much.
Yes. And if you're scared to try it on a real quilt, get yourself some pre-quilted fabric and just practice.
And then you'll wish you'd done it on the real
Yes,
quilt because
exactly.
it's going to be perfect.
Exactly.
It's going to be awesome. So we hope you enjoyed this today. We taught you how to put on a border, how to make a scalloped edge, how to make a wavy edge. Thanks so much for doing this.
You're so welcome. I've really enjoyed my stay here.
That's awesome. We've got to figure out how to finish up our projects. We got
Exactly.
some works in progress, don't we?
Too many.
And this will help us finish it. So we hope you enjoyed this tutorial today on finishing up your quilts from the Missouri Star Quilt Company.